What problems are you dealing with in your life right now?
Do you feel like giving up? Times are hard and you're not strong. Well, I know the answer for you, and it will lead to real truth. Don't go back to yesterday.
Now there are answers.
Tomorrow's on
Welcome to Live Prayer.
It's waiting there.
And welcome to Live Prayer. Good to be with you on this Monday night. Pray you had a good weekend. And yes, it's Monday, January 7th, at least for another hour here on the East Coast. This Live Prayer, we come to you live and in living color every Monday through Friday, 11 p.m. Eastern to midnight Eastern. One solid hour live every Monday through Friday. Good to be with you tonight. Pray you had a good weekend. For those who were fortunate enough to have had some time off over the holidays. I know a lot of people were traveling over the weekend, heading back home. Pray your travel was safe and as stress-free as it possibly can be. But we're into 2019 now for real. We're cranking up and ready to start seeing what this new year, as it unfolds, what it has in store for us. So I'm looking forward to it. Again, I'm Bill, founder of LivePrayer.com. World's largest interactive Christian website, reach a little over 2.5 folks all over the world every single day via the internet. Website coming up on your screen, liveprayer.com. Check it out, lots of great content. We revamped the website about 6 months ago, did a total facelift. I mean, did an explosion. Did, some of those houses, they do the tear downs where they go in, they buy a lot, and the house is on it, they tear down the house, put a nice brace on it. Well, that's what we did with the website. Just tore down the old one and put a brand new one on the liveprayer.com lot. But 20 years of content, all the devotionals I've written daily for 20 years are in an archive searchable by topic, keyword, and date. If you don't get the devotional, sign up. It comes in your email every morning. Just go to the resources tab, and there's a daily devotional link there. Also, of course, this program is live Monday through Friday, 11 to midnight. But for those who miss a program, who maybe this isn't the most convenient time to join us live, all of our programs are archived. You can find programs on our Facebook page, on our Twitter page, on our YouTube page, and our website. So lots of places to find older programs. They're all there. So check all of that out. I'm glad you're with me tonight as we get this week going. I didn't plan it this way, but as we were working through last week, I was coming up with some a bunch of different topics, and a lot of it ended up being in the abortion lane. So I think I'm going to start out the program with that tonight because there's a lot of miscellaneous news stories floating around surrounding the abortion issue that I want to hold together tonight. So we're going to start there, and then I've got a lot of other topics to get to tonight, and I don't know how much time we're going to have to get to everything, but we'll work our way through. I definitely want to get abortion stuff first, and then we'll start working on the rest of the topics, and at some point we'll just see what we get accomplished tonight, and whatever we don't, we'll just hold tomorrow. Tomorrow, I promise you, I know I've been saying this for a week now, but I promised one of our callers to talk about the Jehovah's Witnesses cult. I will do that tomorrow at the very beginning of the program. I've off now for a bunch of nights just because it wasn't quite fitting, but I will do that first thing tomorrow night. And then Wednesday night, I've got a real important topic. It may be the only thing I hit on Wednesday night just because it's such a critical topic, and that's the roles of men and women. There is a real move in our culture, and has been for years, to minimize men and the role they're supposed to play in the culture. This, of course, really began back with the feminist movement in the 60s, but it's gone way beyond that now. It's passed. It passed through that probably about 10 years ago, maybe, and that was where it was left. But in the last 4 or 5 years, there's been a real pickup in focusing on minimizing the role of men in society and how men are supposed to act. And again, see, this is what happens when you get a culture where the foundation breaks down. I talk about how the family is the foundation of our culture. When the family breaks down, it really opens the door for every kind of, perverted role models, beliefs in how people should behave. All those things just become totally out of context and not even close to the way God planned it or God prepared, everything, how everything should run and operate. And let me just say this real quick, because I'm not going to get into it till Wednesday, but I do want to just throw this out so nobody has any illusions. Men and women are 100% equals. Now, I said that they have very different specific roles to play, okay? But they are 100% equal. So I just want to take out this fallacy, this false belief, this false understanding in some way that Christianity is this male-dominated, woman-inferior type of belief, because nothing could be further from the truth. All right? So we'll get into that Wednesday because it's a very important topic. All right, let's have a quick word and jump into things because we got a lot of ground to cover tonight. Father, we thank you for this night's program. I thank you, Lord, for our friends here tonight. Thank you for helping us enjoy the celebration of the birth of our Lord and Savior, Jesus Christ. Welcome a new year. And Lord, I just pray that during this year of 2019, should Jesus tarry, and should we be blessed with the ability, and it's in your plan for each one of us to just work our way through this year day by day, that this will be the most productive year in our lives spiritually. That we will grow spiritually. We will be blessed spiritually. And we will be active spiritually in helping to be an ambassador for you in all of our travels. So we commit this time to you tonight. I ask that you meet the needs of our friends who are part of this program tonight, whether they're live or watching on a re-air. But Lord, the needs are represented here. You know each one, and you are not just God, but you're the God where things are possible. And there's nothing that we're facing tonight that is too big for you. So bless you tonight as we commit this time to you. And we ask it all in Jesus' name. Amen. All right. Let's get started. And again, I had a couple abortion stories last week that I kind of put on hold, and they started kind of backing up to the point where I had a bunch of them. So I said, well, you know what? God, obviously, this direction He wants us to at least start tonight. So let's go there. There is a woman, and I'll be blunt with you. It would have taken 2 seconds. I didn't even spend the 2 seconds to get her name because it's not important. She is pushing an agenda. She's pushing an experience for women who've had an abortion. It's called Shout Your Abortion. I kid you not. She proclaims that an abortion isn't something to be ashamed of, but it's something you should be proud of. that you should, again, her little program that she's trying to put out in the mainstream is called Shout Your Abortion. And basically it's to not be ashamed but be proud that you had an abortion. Now, there's a passage in the Bible that you can apply in a lot of ways, but I think this is a very applicable place where it fits. And it's where it says in the last days, the truth shall become the lie, and the lie shall become the truth. And I'll tell you, if you don't need to be a great theologian to understand, based on what the Bible says, not what Bill Keller says or what some, prophecy or some end times teacher says. We're in the last days. Now, technically, if you want to get technical in a theological sense, last days really began the second that Jesus left the Mount of Olives. So we've been in the last days in a technical sense. But when you take a position that the Bible does, that in the last days, the truth will be the lie. I mean, we are living that today. And, what more of an applicable example could you ask for than somebody that's actually telling people they should be proud they had an abortion? I've told you this before. Again, because of the anonymity factor of the internet, over these 20 years, we've heard so many people that have never talked about certain things that have gone on in their life, certain things they've done, certain things they've experienced, just anything you can imagine. And their comfort level, not just that we're a ministry, not just a ministry that's been around for 20 years track record, so they trust us, but again, there's that anonymity factor, and they feel safe and comfortable telling us things. And I've had women in their 80s, and right before Roe v. Wade, okay, Roe v. Wade's 47, so anybody had an abortion more than 47 years ago, and let's just say 15, you might get parents of 50, 47, 57, 62. So really, anybody that had an abortion that's probably 62 years or older, that's pre-Roe v. Wade. And it necessarily wasn't back alley. They always had, it's just like, pornography wasn't real accessible years ago, but it existed. You just had to know where to go to get it. Same thing, gambling. Of course, Vegas has been around for a while, but there were always places you could gamble. If that's what you wanted to do. It wasn't, you didn't go to your 7-Eleven and gamble like now, but if that's what you were into, it existed. You just had to go find it. Same with abortions. And this whole myth of and there were, I'm not in any way dismissing the fact that didn't exist, and in a regulated sense, you would have it. But that happens today, just for the record. People today that don't have the $200-300 that go to a private abortion. So that hasn't been eliminated just because it's legal. But I've had women, in their 70s, 80s, about the shame that they've carried their whole life from that experience that many years ago. So this is just a lie from the pits of hell. And here you go. In this same program, if you want to call it that, the Shout Your Abortion program, they're actually teaching children. Now, this is real important for you to understand, all right? Because this isn't the beginning of this, but it's getting a lot more visible and a lot more bold than it used to be. I was able to correctly, and I take no credit because I would have loved to have been wrong, but I take no no pride in being corrected. 20 some years ago, it was easy for me to see that the whole homosexuality was going to be mainstream, not just mainstream, but societally accepted. Okay, no more this in the closet nonsense that it used to be. No, it was going to be wide open. It was going to be culturally acceptable. And of course, from that, the whole gay marriage thing, that was an option. Well, a lot of that came from the fact that 20 years when Live Prayer started, that was the beginning of the whole abortion industry really starting out in the schools. Or not the abortion, the homosexuality agenda. That's when they first really started it in the schools, okay? And it was in the schools that they started this almost cradle to grave brainwashing of the populace that there's nothing with homosexuality. And when they went at this, they went after the high schoolers first and gay clubs and all that. Then they bumped it down to the junior highs. Then they started trying to get gay-friendly curriculum in elementary schools. And then they were even creating gay-friendly curriculum for preschoolers and kindergartners, that age. So literally from the very beginning. Now, the important thing to understand, one of the reasons it was successful is because of the foundation that everything we talk about in this program really is based on. 2 full generations now, for the most part, the vast percentage, have never been to church. You're not dealing with kids that had any other competing thoughts in their head about the issue. These weren't kids that were in church hearing the fact that this was a sin. They weren't in Sunday school being taught it was sin. So they had nothing. They were these were like clean slips that were being written on for the first time. Well, part of this Shout Your Abortion program that's being put there now is to start indoctrinating kids. And one of the way they teach kids about abortion, they tell them, number one, it's part of God's plan, which is just hideous, to be honest with you. Hideous. But that's what but this is a page out of the homosexual activist, because that's what the homosexual. Hey, people are born that way. That's the way God made them. How can you be against somebody that God made that way? And kids don't have a developed enough reasoning process to really fight that kind of an input, especially without any conflicting information like from church. So they're telling kids now abortion is part of God's plan. Just to show you how really hideous it is, they tell children that it's like a dentist appointment. You got to go to the dentist, get your teeth cleaned, and maybe get a cavity filled. Well, have an abortion. It's like going to the dentist. I've come to 2 pretty strong personal beliefs, and these are Bill Keller, and I never try to put my beliefs on anybody in terms of what I believe, but through my 25 years of ministry, through my advanced education, through literally have surrendered my life to God for 25 years now. And in the time that it's on a daily basis to maintain that relationship, to do what I do for 25 years, I've come to kind of two broad conclusions. Number one, the fact that we murder 4,000 innocent babies in this country on a daily basis is not grounds. It's all the reason that God would ever need just to wipe this nation off the face of the earth like we never existed. And to be blunt, I often wonder why he hasn't done it. And the only answer, I shared this with you the other night, I believe, the only answer that I've been able to come up with that makes sense logically and everything is this nation's love and respect and defense of Israel. And these are just Bill Keller's personal thoughts, having been on the front lines for 25 years, been involved in all of this stuff on a 24/7 basis for 25 years, literally. That's my takeaway. That this nation, its activity in abortion alone, its slaughtering babies alone, is more than enough reason that God should have wiped us off the face of the earth a long time ago. And that the love and the defense of and the caring we have for the state of Israel is the only real legitimate reason. And I would subcategorize under that probably our worldwide missionary efforts. I would throw that on there too. Our worldwide missionary efforts. Those are probably the only two reasons that I can legitimately and logically in my finite mind come up with why we haven't been wiped off the face of the earth. So they're telling kids that this is part of God's plan. It's like going to the dentist's office. And of course, for the most part, they're dealing with kids that, again, have no conflicting messages on this issue because most kids aren't going to church. Most kids have no biblical foundation in the home. They're clean slates. It's very much like the advancement of homosexual in this country that was very successful. And that was over the last really 15 years that has really gone on in force. So they pushed sin into the mainstream fairly effectively, fairly quickly. And we've even got less of a percentage that are going to church now. So I have no reason that the whole abortion issue, and it already is to some extent. Now there have been some polling that I don't fully trust, but it has, some of that polling has said that, high school kids are more pro-life than they were 10 years ago, but I'm not totally buying that because the cultural evidence doesn't really support that, but we'll keep an eye on it. Now, 42 million babies worldwide in the last 12 months were slaughtered, were aborted. Number one cause of death, no abortion. How about that? Oh, and Ireland, big day in Ireland today. Today is the day that Ireland officially began legally killing babies. In other words, abortion was illegal in Ireland until today. So as of today, it's now legal to get an abortion in Ireland. Now, Planned Parenthood, of course, number one baby killing company in the world. They're out with a bunch of brand new billboards around the country. And here we go. It's the same. It's a very... So you see how all these different stories are kind of fitting together like a puzzle. Planned Parenthood, brand new billboard campaign. I had an abortion and I won't apologize. In other words, pound sand, I'm not apologizing for anything. You can't make me feel guilty. You can't make me feel bad. Yes, I had an abortion and I'm not going to apologize. So it's a variance of this abortion theme where you're not to be guilty or saddened about that event, but you're to shout it, be proud of it. Now, in the meantime, PBS, that's probably not as liberal politically as you can get PBS, but they did a very, somebody probably going to get fired for this, but they did a very fair job in taking on abortion in the black community. And the Missouri pro-life organization that has a bunch of billboards throughout Missouri. It says the most dangerous place for an African American is in the womb. The most dangerous place for an African American is in the womb. I thought, yes. And the Planned Parenthood or PBS also brought out the fact that I've talked to you about on this program, that even though African Americans make up 13% of the population, they represent 35% of abortions. So on a daily basis, there's approximately 4,000 babies murdered in this country on a daily basis. And which means 1,400 of those are black babies. Now, the one thing they didn't get into, which, I got to give PBS credit for even putting this kind of information out in their airways. Like I said, somebody's going to lose their job. But they really didn't get into Margaret Sanger, the founding of Planned Parenthood, and all of that, which I wish they would have. But so a little bit of good, because, hey, listen, be praying for these pro-life organizations that are out there on the front lines doing a good job, or the best job they can in fighting this. And for all the negativity at times that gets thrown at the Catholic Church, and rightly so in most cases, you have to always give them credit for one thing. They have always been a leader, the leader in most cases, for the pro-life movement. And that's why it's so sad to see what happened in Ireland, because I don't know what the percentage is, but I would assume it's probably at least 80% of professing Christians in Ireland are part of the Catholic Church, maybe even higher than that, might even be 90%. But obviously it's a very pro-Catholic, Catholic majority country, and to see them, but here you go. And do you know why it took until January 7th of 2019 before it became legal? Because they had to get enough of a percentage of their population that wasn't going to church anymore, that had none of that background, or if it was just a very minor part of their life, and they're past that, and they don't want to hear about it anymore. That's why it took till January 7th of 2019 for Ireland to legalize abortion. The vote was actually last year sometime, but it took them this long. But that's because they had to wait for enough of the population. Here's a great example of what I keep talking about, the impact of having a population, whatever percentage that is, not being part of church, not having that faith background in their life. And that's exactly what happened in Ireland. Now, speaking of the church, I promise I'm not going to talk about Princess Pelosi, mayor of New York, or governor of New York. He's out there raising money and politicizing. He says, New York, protect abortion. We must protect Roe versus Wade. We must not let the Supreme Court overturn Roe versus Wade. Well, number one, the Supreme Court is never going to overturn Roe versus Wade, okay? That's not going to happen. It's not going to happen. They're never going to overturn Roe versus Wade. Even if they did, let's just humor these fear mongers, and that's all it is, fear mongering. But let's just humor them, and let's just say the Supreme Court does overturn versus Wade. That's not going to make abortion immediately illegal in this country. All that does then is take the issue back to each state, and it'll then be up to each state to determine whether they wanted that practice to be legal in their state or not. And so at the end of the day, I mean, you're still going to have, 30 states? I'm probably being generous. Realistically, it might be 40 states. But you got at least 30 states where it's going to be legal. And I think I told you, I have no doubt that some creative entrepreneurs in some of these, California, New York, they'll start putting abortion packages together where you come out for 5 days, first class, and stay in this beautiful hotel, and, see the lights, and then have your abortion, and then you recover in these beautiful surroundings. And I'm not kidding either. So good old staunch Roman Catholic Gov. York, Andrew Cuomo, gonna protect abortion, gonna protect the killed children, and I guess the sum of everything I've been talking about for the last 20-some minutes really boils down to this is how mainstream this evil has become in this country. And again, they don't ever want to talk about what it really is. Murder. It's always couched in these weasel words. Women's reproductive health, women's health issues. They've got all these nice, all this nice verbiage to identify pro-choice as anything what it really is, and that's slaughtering innocent babies. And that's how mainstream now this evil is in this country. And like I said, you can take all of our other sins, our idol worship. If you don't think this country is idol worship, my friend, I probably need to do a whole program one night on the idols worship. We may not be bowing down to gold calves, but taking idol worship to the nth degree, trust me. But you can take all of our sin, idol worship and rampant adultery and murder, and just take it all the sexual sin and perverting God's holy institution, take it all. And you can put all that on one side and put killing babies on the other side. I'm telling you, even if we did all that other stuff, if we weren't doing all that other stuff, just this one horrific, demented, sadistic evil that we perpetrate in this country every day. I will almost guarantee you that not one person watching me right now, and just be honest, it doesn't make you a bad person or a bad Christian or anything. It's just not what people think about you. I guarantee you there might be one, but probably not more than one if there is one. At some point today said, in the last 24 hours, we killed 4,000 innocent babies in this country. Because you can do that every 24 hours. Every day, every night, go to bed. You can just close your eyes. Yep, another 4,000. The next night, another 4,000. The next night, another 4,000. Evil. All right. Let me see if I can rip through some of this other stuff for you tonight. Last week, I was warning about these free phone apps that there's no free lunch. You're not just getting these apps for free. That, basically these apps, and some of them are a lot more devious than others. I talked to you about it last week. I'm reading an article this morning how the Weather Channel app was caught selling app user information that they'd collected. And again, some apps are much sophisticated than others in terms of what they collect. I mean, some of them literally, they can pretty much suck everything there is on your phone just because you want to look at there. And again, I'm not trying to scare people. I'm not telling you don't have apps and don't look at the weather. I'm just trying to educate you just so you understand, what's happening. I'm just trying to educate you and make you aware, because few people are. I couldn't believe how many people, because I've been talking about this for years, how many people were just so shocked it started to come out how much information not only Facebook and Twitter, but all the social media organization had. Not only they had it, but they were storing it. They were selling it to basically anybody with a check. And again, no free lunch. Yeah, the Weather Channel gives you a free rate so you can check the weather. But just understand, that free app is sucking information. And you'll never really know how much they're sucking because they will never tell you. And some apps, again, are a lot more sophisticated than others. I mean, like I said, are so sophisticated they can suck every bit of information on your phone out. Others, maybe just certain things like your location or certain things, or maybe what you shop. But they all are designed to suck out information of some kind. So again, I'm not trying to scare people. I'm not trying to tell you don't use apps. I'm just trying to help you, just make you aware and help you have an understanding. And on that same level, here we go. Every year around this time of year, and for about a week, in Las Vegas, they have the Consumer Electronics Show. It's going on right now. It's about a week, and this is where all the electronics companies, all the techie companies, they come out and they show their newest and most sophisticated and shiny new objects that they're going to be selling to people. Flying cars seem to be the real rave there. And they're actually flying around in the sky of Las Vegas. Now, if you think that drone thing is a problem, because they're having major problems now around airports and stuff, they're doing all they can now to start registering drones, almost like you register a plane, which you can buy these things like from Amazon or stores. They don't register all. Anyway, that's what they're trying to do. And believe it or not, even these small drones, if they ever come in contact with an airline, they can take an airliner down. Do you remember what happened? Do you remember what happened when the I can't remember the airline now. It might have been Delta, but it was that Sully Sullenberger took off from LaGuardia, hit a flock of geese, ended up with that landing on the Hudson River. Everybody lived. Everybody was fine. Remember that? It's a flock of geese. They're saying that these drones are just as bad. They've actually shown pictures of planes that have been hit by drones. And I know they don't look like toys, but they're not toys. And they can cause massive damage. And I'm only talking about the drones. Can you imagine we started flying cars? Oh, Lord, come quickly, Jesus. Just for the record, and I saw a friend of mine, I said, you know what? After I tell you this, it'll make sense. I said, this is probably what they said back in the early 1900s when they first came out with the horseless carriage, the first car. I'm sure there are people, I'm not getting in that thing. No way. A friend of mine, car dealer for Ford, he was telling me about all the, I said, well, what's the driver, man? That's where it's all going. Driverless cars. I remember telling myself, I'm not getting in a car without it. I said, if I'm not driving or there's not a human being driving, I'm not getting in the thing. And I'm sure it's like the people, I'm not giving in one of those horseless carriages. I'm sure it's the same. But hey, I'm 60, man. I'm fine just driving and long and, for the next, 20, 30 years. Should Jesus and God give me that long. I'm surely not going to leave this earth in a car. Anyway, the biggest, the most, the most abundant products at this year's Consumer Electronics Show, okay, are all things that are in your home through an internet connection. They're home gadgets. I mean, I don't care. You know, whether it's your lights, your drapes, your carpet. I don't know. Anything in your house that does anything is going to have some internet connected gadget. And don't forget what I've always told you. Anything that's connected to the internet, again, not to scare you, to intimidate you, just to educate you. Anything connected to the internet can be hacked. Now, why does somebody want to hack my vacuum cleaner? I don't know. But just know that somebody could, or whoever sold you that vacuum cleaner, they've got something inside that vacuum cleaner, again, sucking out, yes, that's an appropriate application, sucking out information on you. Like how many days you use your vacuum cleaner, how much dust is it? I don't know. I'm just telling you, stuff is very sophisticated, but that's the abundance of the gizmos at this year's Consumer Electronics Show are things for the home that are connected to the internet. So there you go. Again, just making you aware that all this stuff is out there, and it's going to be out there, and it's going to be coming down quick. I was just talking to a friend of mine who's in the home security business, and we were talking about these companies. Like if you have one of the old like ADT systems in your house, where you have the landline and it's connected to a call center, right? And you hit the thing and everything, right? And the downside of that is somebody who is, up to cut the line to your house, and once that connection's cut, obviously, it cuts the connection to the call center, to the monitoring center. So you have that issue with the home security system, the old home security systems. So now you've got all these new ones. There's a bunch of these companies out there like Simply Safe, and I'm not naming them on purpose, but they're just practice right now. But there's a bunch of them like that, and they're all wireless. All work on the internet. And I'm just saying, everything now is internet connected. If anything that's got an internet connection, just understand it can't be hacked, and it's probably in some way, shape, or form gathering information back to home base, whoever you bought it from. So again, just understand that that's what all of this is out there to do. I don't know the guy, but my new buddy is a guy named Pastor Justin Hoke. He's in Northern California, and he's got a big sign in front of his church. He's in Northern California, and this sign isn't going over well with the neighbors. He said, Bruce Jenner is still a man, and homosexuality is still a sin. That's great. Bruce Jenner is still a man, and homosexuality is still a sin. Amen, Pastor Hoke. And say a quick prayer tonight before you go to bed for Pastor Hoke, because he's getting they're just coming down like a ton of bricks on that poor man for having the audacity to say that. And that kind of leads into a couple things I want to kind of close up with Because you've got now, I'm noticing, the church is going from wondering how to deal with the issue of homosexuality, okay, which is real confusing to me because I can never understand what there is to deal with. It's a sin. That's how you deal with it. It's like any other sin. I mean, that's like the church. Well, how do we deal with murder? What do you mean how you do? I've never seen a church confused on how to deal with murder. They've never had board meetings. They've never had special conferences. They've never had steering committees. Come up with an idea. Well, how are we going to deal with murder? Never heard. But they've been dealing with the sin of homosexuality. That's how our church is supposed to deal with the transgendered issue. How? Prayer number one. Number two, understand that anybody who is confused about their gender has a mental health issue. But they say identify as a man, and they identify. Listen, any girl that says they identify as a man has a mental health issue. Any man that says he identifies as a girl has a mental health issue. Transgendered is a mental health issue. And again, it just amazes me that people on the left side of the political spectrum who embrace this fraudulent climate change and mock people who don't embrace it as science deniers. What kind of a science denier do you have to be to not understand if you're born a man or a woman? That's not even science denier. That is like children, little children know if they're a boy or a girl. And the only reason it's an issue with some children, I've always said this, I mean, this may sound like a horrible analogy, but, every now and then you hear about, some little kid that, abusive parent or abusive adult, like whips them with like a toaster cord or something like that, something horrific. And that's child abuse. That person should be prosecuted. That's a crime, okay? Minimize in any way. But I'm here to tell you that any adult that takes a child that's a boy and tries to tell her a girl, or a girl and tries to tell her, that's in my mind just as much child abuse as whipping them with a toaster cord. That is mental abuse to tell a child that. It's insane. So I never could understand churches that couldn't figure out the homosexual issue. Certainly can't figure out churches that are now debating, well, what do we do about the transgendered issue? Well, there was a church on the south side of Chicago. A couple of months ago, I was reading about it, and the pastor in the middle of his sermon got down out of his pulpit, walked down the aisle, stopped at a man sitting in one of the pews, looked at him. He said, you get out of my church and you go home and you take that dress off and you don't come back until you dress like a man. And of course, everybody's outraged. God bless that pastor, man. I'm serious. How do you deal with this issue? Now, one thing, just like in the abortion thing, I tried to give you a little bit with the PBS, how they were actually somewhat even in talking about the issue, at least in one instance. I was reading an article over the weekend about there's a whole new genre transgendered issue They're called trans-regressors. And I guess it's similar to people that had bought into the lie of homosexuality, that came to the conclusion that it was not natural, it's not healthy, it's not God's plan, and turned that sin, that addiction, that lifestyle, found God's strength to like an alcoholic stops drinking, like drug addicts quit using drugs. They quit engaging in that type of perversion. Well, you're now getting these people that have lost their mind to the point they literally started identifying and living their life as the opposite sex, that came to woke up one morning and said, man, this isn't good. So pray for those people. We need people. A Catholic bishop made the statement, homosexuality, not the church, is to blame for the abuse scandal. No, Mr. Bishop, the sin is the sin. Church is to blame because you are forcing people to live in an unnatural way of life, celibacy, and in an unbiblical fashion, because God never called for that en masse. God never said, you have to be celibate. Female women that work in the church have to be dedicated to God and have to be. That is a total man-made rule that is not only not biblical, it contradicts God's biblical plan for how men live their lives. Marriage is God's plan for a man and a woman. And once again, is there a small percentage of people that God may call to live a celibate life? Absolutely. I have no doubt that there are certain people called to that. Just like there are certain people called to go to China and witness to unsaved Chinese, or just like God called somebody to go on the internet when the internet was just starting and start preaching the gospel. God calls people all kinds of things. So, does God call some people? Absolutely, no doubt about it. But not in an unbiblical. It's unbiblical to force this upon people, because that is not God's plan to begin with. So no, that Catholic bishop is 1,000% wrong. The sin isn't the problem. The man-made institution that is people to live in an unbiblical way, that's the problem. All right, let me get through these last couple ones. This Democrat from Michigan, Rashida Tlaib, you've heard about her. She's the woman. She's a Muslim. She's the foul-mouthed woman that disrespected the president, saying impeach the EMF. That one. She's also a total hater of Israel. She's got a map in her office, and where Israel is, she's basically taken the name of Israel off the country for Palestine. She's a supporter of terrorist PLO. By the way, she will stay in this country initially after she came here by marrying her brother. A real piece of work this woman is. And she's a congresswoman from the Detroit area, of course. Like I told you, when you get into the suburbs of Detroit, like Dearborn, or you got up into Minnesota, some of the suburbs of Minneapolis, you might as well be in Cairo or Islamabad or any other Muslim city. So we got that going on. You had the Golden Globes last night. I'm only mentioning this because it just astounded me at the hypocrisy, because you get these holier-than-thou people up there making their... they have no problem mocking Christianity. Please let me know the first time one of Orthodox Islam. I'm really waiting for that day because I haven't heard it yet, and I kind of keeping track. Mock Christianity, they took a couple shots at Christians last night. They also took shots at the whole gun situation in this country. And as I was looking at some clips, I was actually laughing to myself because I guarantee you that hall where they held those things last night, that was probably one of the most armed compounds in the whole state of California last night. I wouldn't even guesstimate how many guns, being carried. The vast number of security people that was in that building. just amazing the hypocrisy of these people. So that's about it. That's kind of where we're at. I guess the overall picture tonight is kind of simple. We just got to keep praying. We got to keep working. We got to keep doing our best each day. I know everybody's busy lives. Try to take 5-10 minutes every day to at least tell them that Jesus loves them, give them a kind word, ask them if everything's okay, pray for them, whatever. Just do a little something every day. If everybody just did that, even one little token a day would make such a difference. Make sure you spend that, I don't care, even 10-15 minutes before you even get out of bed. Just wake up and pray. Before you even get out of bed, pray. If you want to go and read a little bit of the Bible before, that's even better. But if nothing else, just pray before you even put your feet on the floor. Once you put your feet on the floor, your heart starts racing, your head starts spinning, you're thinking about what you got to do during the day. And that's one reason, just to be blunt, I encourage people to, read a little bit of the Word before you get out of the bed. I know sometimes once my feet hit the floor, I'm going a million miles an hour. I got a million things, and by the time I'm back in the bed that night, read? No, my head would probably. I'm usually out before my head hits the pillow at night. I don't sleep a lot of hours, but that's just kind of the way I'm built. But and I'm just encouraging you to do that just because it gets you spiritually prepared for the day. At least gives you a spiritual start on the day. By all means, you should do more today, but at least get the day started because, get your spiritual man started in the morning before your physical man gets going. And that's just a good plan. All right. Listen, if you're watching tonight, you never made a decision for Jesus, let me pray with you now. If you want to make that decision, it's a prayer away. Not that a prayer is going to save you. It's your faith that will save you. The prayer is simply a verbal acknowledgement of what you're doing in your heart by faith, because it's by grace, God's grace, and our faith that we're saved. Ephesians 2:8-9. So if you want to make that decision, I pray with me now. Dear Lord, I come to you tonight a sinner, asking you to forgive my sins. I believe in my heart and confess with my mouth that Jesus is Lord. And in my heart, Lord Jesus, take my life now and forevermore. I will live for you from this day forward. Life belongs to you. In Jesus' name I pray, amen and amen. Amen. Listen, if you made that decision tonight, let me throw my email up real quick before we go here. And drop me an email. Let me know you made that decision. I'll send you a book. If you need prayer for anything, just drop me an email, bkellerliveprayer.com. I'll be happy to do that. Don't forget, tomorrow night, I promise, I'm starting with the JWs, Jehovah's Witnesses. Wednesday night, probably the whole night's going to be on the roles of men and women. Very important topic, even more so today than ever. All right, listen, love and care about you so much. I pray you have a great night tonight. Get some sleep. Have a great day in the morning. Great day tomorrow. And God willing, we'll see you back here in 23 short hours. God bless you.
What problems are you dealing with in your life right now?
Do you feel like giving up? Times are hard, you're not strong. Well, I know the answer for